The Frame Center Podcast.
All right, so welcome to the Frame Center Podcast. So today we're joined by Nate Nottingham from the Norwell High School. Norwell High School's got a show going. Is it starting on Friday?
Friday's the opening. Yep.
Starting Friday. In I don't know, what do you call that?
It's the James Library.
At the James Library. But I'm trying to. So it's like a joint show, or are you guys putting it on together, or they just the venue?
They're just the venue, but they it's like the Norwell Cultural Council is the sponsor behind it, and the James Library always likes to let people know who is the backers behind these, So, but honestly, Bill Hauser is the one who gets it put together. He's a great guy, and he really wants to make sure annually that the.
So it's going to be an annual show.
We had it last year. It was awesome, and. I think it just fits really nicely for us to highlight a few pieces by our AP students every year there and kind of show where their portfolios are kind of building towards. Like back in the day when I was in AP in high school, it was called the concentration. So it was like everything kind of kept on going back to the same central idea. Yep. Mm-hmm. And now it's a little bit more of a journey. Yeah. It's like called a sustained investigation. So you're really trying to show your research into an idea.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So I think having the two pieces by each student and a small little paragraph and artist statement kind of like saying like, this is my journey so far.
Sure.
And like, I think it's important for the public to kind of know that some of the pieces feel very finished and some of the pieces you might be like, oh, that kind of feels like it's more in flux. And that's kind of by design too.
Yeah.
You kind of want the students to always be feeling like this piece could be changed. It could have some revisions.
Could go further,
and that's kind of what they're asking for on the test itself. So you're always kind of trying to remind the students that they're taking a test, but also try to be loose enough that they're making artwork that's meaningful to them. So you're trying to walk this tightrope, but being able to show their artwork in a professional setting like the James Library is just so awesome.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, they recently got those renovations in there, the new lighting. It's just a great space for like music or art. And
the place looks great. We stopped in for it. They had like I think it was like a wood carving type of show in place. That looked great. The space, it kind of has like somewhat of an antique feel, but at the same time, like very well done.
Exactly. I feel like you just nailed it. Where you have that charm, you're like, it has enough of that renovation. You're not feeling like you're in the basement of a library. You are physically in the basement of a library, but it doesn't feel that way, and it's just so nice being in there. Again, the lighting has just changed everything. We actually couldn't have a show in there for a few years because it was like this place isn't ADA compliant. There's no ramps. So they did so much work on that, and now the space is even better than before too. Yeah. So it's just so cool to be able to again put the artwork in town for the town to see, but also it's not just like any old space too.
Yeah. And how many pieces are?
So
each student has two.
Each student has two. I think it's 54 pieces are in there.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so that's quite a bit.
Yeah. So it was a lot of matting and mounting by me, and not up to the standards of the Frame Center. I should probably be changing my blades out more often.
It's amazing how fast those have to be changed.
It is funny though too. Like I know how much work I put into it, and like the kids are like, "When's the last possible second I can get it to you?" I'm like, "I'm bringing the show tomorrow," and you've already written a paragraph about these two pieces, so
last
I'm confused.
week.
Exactly. or like some kids are so thankful, and then there's a few kids who are like, "You framed mine in gray? How dare you? It should have been in black." And you're like, I'm working on like bare bones here, man. Like I didn't have a big enough black piece for yours, you know? So it is crazy just the shift between like the expectations of these things, but they ultimately just want their work to look the best.
True.
So, you can't be mad at them, but you're like, oh man, I don't think you realize, like, I gave myself a 3rd-degree burn using, like, the hot glue gun today, and I'm a little salty myself, so can we just get on board and realize I'm doing my best, too? You gave me the piece, like, again, like a week late.
Oh, sure, yeah. How many paper cuts you got? Just trying to cut those things.
Oh, my God. Every time I come here for, again, thank you for all the scrap mat board. We use it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But every time I'm, like, sifting through the scrap mat board boxes, I'm like, and another cut.
Catch a knuckle.
And another cut. Yeah.
Those beveled edges are doing
It's dangerous.
They become razor blades themselves, man. Yeah. Forget about the sheet metal shop at school. You can just,
It's like, man, what gauge metal did you cut yourself on? It was paper, man. It was paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. So each 54 pieces total. And now, do they have them pinned up? How are they displaying everything?
Again, they have like a pretty nice hanging system there. They have like the track system up top, and they have like the pretty invisible.
So how do you
wire system?
So you just put a wire across the back.
Oh my God! Like I've done this for quite some time now. It's pretty, again. If you were to look at the back, you'd be like, this got a whole lot less professional. I do the rough tape job on the back of the matting. Then I do some hot glue puddles. Get a backing board of cardboard on there.
Yep.
A lot of the pieces, if you look in the back, looks like it was sponsored by the lunchroom.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Tyson chicken box label sponsoring in the back.
Yep.
And then I take some scrap mat board like strips, and I cut those into small rectangles, and those become pressed into another puddle of hot glue with a piece of yarn between them. And now I have my hanging system. So hot glue, cardboard, and some scrap mat board go a long way. But again, no one's looking at the back, so
we're not going to judge. I might peek around the back of one of them.
That's what he's doing.
See if we can bring in a new type of wire.
We'll update you with some new systems, yeah.
Or maybe you guys learned something.
That's very true. I mean, like you said, you were asking us how, when you ever get used to seeing something, come in all the time. And no, there's always a surprise. Most of the time, that surprise is how this thing stayed up on the wall for 30 years, hung up with hopes and prayers, with this piece of dental floss and, a piece of red yarn. It's amazing how some pieces are still hanging after all these years. But like you said, you work with what you got.
Exactly.
And what you have time available
I
for.
mean, my time frame is to make sure it stays up on the walls between February 10th, which is the
last
opening,
about a
and
month,
it has to come down on March 11th. So
yeah.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed that hot glue stays.
Let's do it, man. Just got to do a time lapse of this next time, and then you can record it and just play the MacGyver theme song over it.
I mean, anytime you're using the school brand tape, you're kind of putting yourself at risk of this thing is going to last for so long.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's great for some things. You're like, this is great for like being a painter's tape. It's really not going to tear anything off of it, but it's I really like putting the show together. And it's just funny which pieces the kids choose to put in the show.
I was gonna say, how do they go through it? Do they pick it out themselves? You guys have like a meeting, and set up discuss which show, bring me 7, we'll pick 2 out of it, kind of thing.
So in the past, the test has required the students to send out physically 5 pieces.
Oh, okay.
So those are called your selected work. So ideally, this show has been used to kind of say hey, I'm framing 2 of your pieces. These have to go out physically. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure these are possibly pieces you want to be for your selected works as well.
Sure.
They're not having to send them out physically anymore. Mm-hmm. So now it's just, you're an AP, I want to give you a good piece that, you're happy with it, I'm happy with it. I want to make sure that, you're getting a piece and, this is kind of marking your senior year or your junior year as a positive way. So let's just get something you care about out there. Ultimately, I hope that it's something that's helping them write their sustained investigation paragraphs for the test. So hopefully these 2 pieces are really about that sustained investigation. Yeah. You don't want to build in too much busy work into the curriculum. You want it to be more about making art for a purpose.
Yeah.
So you try to keep them kind of focused on those test kind of mainstays and make sure they're on track. So do a few kids wish they put some different pieces in or just finally got them done today?
That's the artist in everybody, though. Everyone second guesses their own work. Yeah. It's never good enough. The branch is drawn wrong on this landscape. It doesn't really matter. Someone's nose is askew. There's always going to be something. We're our own worst critics.
And that's actually so funny. It's typically the kids are the ones who see the mistakes. You're like, it's fine. I think it's a great piece. And you're always trying to walk that tightrope of, are you your harshest critic in a healthy way?
Yes.
Like, if you're just giving yourself a pat in the back the entire time, you're not really going to be growing as an artist. But if you're like shutting yourself down because you're like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, it's like, well, now you're not making any artwork because you just keep on shutting yourself down. So it's like, for some kids, I'm like, you can actually do better. For some kids, I'm like, it's okay. I have to be your cheerleader right now. Like, you're doing a great job. You know? Like, let's be positive again too. So it's different all the time with every kid.
Sure.
It's such an individualized class.
Well, that's the thing with art. It is, you're going to have so many different branches.
It's all about problem solving. You try to give them like a loose project, and you're like, please try to have this formulate around what your research is about. And then everyone comes in with something different. And like some kids, it took a lot shorter amount of time. Some kids come in, you're like, I'm halfway done. You're like, yeah, it makes sense. You're doing something really extensive,
really
and I
think
gave
it
you
out.
a week and a half. So yeah, deadlines are fun.
What are most of the kids working in now? Like I breezing through the stuff. I saw the license plate, so like I saw some texture on things. But what I mean, is the digital art a big portion of like what's being taught?
I don't have a lot of digital art students this year, but I do have one that's like really awesome. He's like taught himself Blender.
Very cool. Yeah.
And like you want to be able to like just like give the kids as much information as you have, but like you can't say like, hey, we're all doing a Blender project right now. It doesn't make much sense. So like you mentioned the license plate piece. That was a project where the project is called Surface. So the idea is like, you have a sustained investigation. You should be able to collect a surface that is symbolic in meaning, has some sort of purpose for your research. Like you're excited about doing something on top of something interesting. So you'll see some kids working on some purposeful surfaces that like maybe build in a little bit more of that meaning into the piece. One of the goals for the test again is the idea of reaching synthesis. So the materials, the how you use the materials, the processes all coalesce to enhance the meaning behind the piece too. So you're trying to get them to that point. Obviously, those projects are kind of manufactured. It's like we're gonna choose some interesting surface and you're gonna draw on top of it. Like, does that mean they hit synthesis? No, it's pretty early in the year, but you kind of want them to get that idea that maybe white paper isn't the answer for all of my projects too. So
maybe you find a stackable vinyl records that
exactly.
and make a clock or something out of it with an art piece behind it. You never know.
And kind of putting
Sounds
those.
like you should stuff in this. Exactly.
You have stuff to donate. No, you just kind of. It's also good to let kids know that if you're having a tough time with this base idea for what you want your research to be about, but you don't have anything to collect, or you don't have any firsthand reference photos of this, or you can't collect those things, like maybe you're off to a bad start with this idea. Like if you don't have access to this stuff, if this isn't stuff that you're naturally already researching, why are we putting yourself through the paces to make this a difficult year? We want this to be research heavy, but also personal. And if you're not already personally engaged with this stuff, why are we doing what we're doing?
You don't have any connection or access to that material. Why and other than the fact of wanting to experiment with it, I can understand that, but that's just putting even more of a constraint on yourself than you need to be.
And now we're at the point in the year where some kids are like, I don't know what my sustained investigation is. We've been literally working on this the entire year. You have several pieces. Like, yeah, but they're not connected. I'm like, I know, I've been grading you in individual pieces, and I've been every time during critique being like, what are these all going towards? What's the storyline that's bringing these together? So some of those kids are kind of in, like you're saying, like, well, what pieces do they choose for the show? And you're like, again, hopefully it's for the sustained investigation, but how can we make sure that like it's actually coming together too? So some of the kids are trying to cobble together some of those through lines for their portfolio.
It's tough. I remember trying to put portfolios together for college and stuff, and like to explore, to show my best, but also my range.
Exactly.
It's not always. It's like, okay, I have some silk screening, but my offset press stuff was good, and then my graphic design was, it's like,
do they want to like show you like drawing from life? You know, like you can't be too much like firsthand reference, like focus. And man, like some of the kids are like, you found that image offline. Like we're not using that in your portfolio.
Yeah.
Like it has to be altered in more than just you drew it. Like,
I can't just show my 7 T-shirt designs I did for the school every year. For the
exactly.
It's not enough.
It's like sweet drawing of Walter White. We all like Breaking Bad, but it can't go into your portfolio.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You weren't on set, man. Like we
exactly.
know that.
exactly.
So like you want to like give them praise where praise is due. Like this is awesome technique. You should be really proud of it. But like, we need to realize that the test has like a rubric for it. I'm talking so test heavy.
No,
right now.
no.
Like Scott understands. I'm
I love the art side of the class too, but I just feel like you always want to keep.
It's been
on
20 years, but I still remember some of this. Yeah,
you want to keep on like driving these tests, like the kids. It's the most unique AP test that's out there because literally as soon as you sign up for the class, like you're taking the test.
Sure.
And that's so different from everyone else. That's like, hey, I'm studying for a test that's coming up in March. It's like, no, you're currently taking it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you dragging your feet? You could be technically done with your test right now if
Pretty
you
much.
want to be.
Right. Yeah. Depending on how involved you became with the project and how well of a thought you've got figured out. Waiting the last 2 weeks before the last time to get yourself together.
Yeah, some of the kids like,
I'm not saying I wasn't part of that group, having to redo a portfolio in 2 weeks because, you left your car roof open and it rained and your portfolio got soaked. But yeah, no, it's tough,
Some of the kids think that they thrive with pressure. I'm like, you're putting the pressure on me now too. Like, and that's not a good feeling.
I know
either.
gray hair is in right now, but just it's do with die, not with pressure.
So that's a clear
stress.
message that I'm graying. That's perfect.
No, it's not graying, man. It's the lack thereof for me.
That was a call out for me.
No.
So now the show will also involve like the traveling art show, and then the fair at the end of the.
So the traveling art show is again, you guys do a great job of framing that up at a very low, nice cost for the school.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun one. It's always nice. I mean, seeing students work is excellent.
And I love that you find it fun, and it's like such a little Christmas morning feel when we get all those things.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's see
see how it.
Oh my God, they chose
feel
that frame color, and you're like, that's so cool. So
it's kind of like the mats sometimes. So
yeah. Like, what do we got?
We can use the lime green or we can use the blue. What do we use?
Yeah.
It's a black and white. I know,
but I mean,
it's a tough compromise because sometimes you're like, oh, this piece is really good, so like we want to it's not something that we're just trying to unload too, but there's usually one or two.
You gotta walk that line. Yeah, and I understand it, and I've never been able to pinpoint the ones that you phoned it in on. So let's put that.
Yeah, I mean we're trying to make sure they all look good. But sometimes it's like, oh,
I mean your name's on them too at the end of the day too. So and I think that's again just like I think that it's a good strategy for any business to like get involved with the community. I think that's like your main goal with it too, and you just enjoy doing it. I think it's just like such a fun thing to see the students' artwork and engage with it too. Like these kids that probably wouldn't otherwise go to a professional place and get their work hung and look nice. It's so surprising how much a piece changes just by saying this is done and putting a frame around it.
Having it up on the wall
beautiful.
and seeing it finalized and done in a professional setting, like you said, is just sometimes so validating to know, I'm on the right track. This is where I want to be. I want to do this all the time. Because it's a great feeling to see your piece up and displayed amongst your peers.
And going back to the test, I mean, some of the kids are realizing that, like, oh my God, if I display my piece in a purposeful location, that is now also part of the art, too. And like now I take a photo of my photo hanging somewhere. And like now we get a little bit like like a picture inside of a picture inside of a picture kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like, oh, you're showing people like this actual like community of people engaging with your art because that is also part of the art.
And this area is huge
really
for
cool.
that too.
Yeah.
We have so many different art societies in the area and things. We've said it on several of our episodes that to be in an art community, you're in the right area. There's several places you can go and even just speak with other artists. There's so many open houses, so many like when the Hulls do the Hull Studios do all their open things. It's like the whole strip of Hull is just one big art community, and you just walk. Every other door you walk into somebody's, art studio. So you can spend that day there and just learn so much from so many different artists.
Yeah, I mean, like the South Shore, I think, like really wants to be known as an arts center too, and I think that maybe it hasn't got the respect it has deserved too. So, I mean, I just moved to Scituate. I mean, I love Scituate for a long time, but I just actually moved there in August, and like I'm really excited about bringing my son and wife to like the Scituate Art Walk and everything like that, and just like showing off all these people's work and everything like that. It's like, you're not gonna like everything, but there's gonna be a lot of pieces that you really respect. And you're like, this goes beyond just a photo of a lighthouse, you know, like, but like there's other awesome things in there too.
I mean, again, mine at light, there'll be 101 shots of it, but maybe this one was from a boat outside looking up at him with the moon behind. You know, like
exactly,
you never know. Like composition's has a lot to do with it.
Always gonna like have a new way of looking.
Exactly,
and so, like that's the interesting thing. It's like, oh, you forced me to look at this same thing, but in a new way.
Yeah, so we get it in here all the time. I mean, different types of things we're going to frame from local landmarks and different things in the area. But depending how it's framed, it changes the whole look of a piece.
So awesome.
It's the last true part of the artwork. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, and I know, like David didn't want me to say, like, oh, you're just doing it to be involved with the community. I think but it is like an important like business decision to like kind of like. Yeah. Hey, we're not going to charge this much, but I mean, it gets us out there, makes the community realize we care, and like that's why I do so much work with the Scituate Animal Shelter.
Oh, sure.
Like I every winter, like, you know, hey, it's gift giving season. You know, Nathan Nottingham's doing some pet portraits, and he's going to split the money with, so like this year I got to donate $1,000 to the Scituate Animal Shelter, and that was awesome. I love doing that, but at the same time, it's like, do these people come back, or do they come to me later on in the year and like they have a different project and they know that I'll be accommodating? It's like, you build a client base that way, and like other people get your name out there too. So it's kind of word of mouth. So it's kind of nice to be like softly busy throughout the year. And get to choose the pieces that you want to engage with at the same time.
Well, I feel like for Frame Center too, like it's part of the sponsorship too. Is like, you mean, you can write a check for all these sports teams, all these other things. For us, like there's a nicer tie-in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like sponsoring hockey teams too. But,
I mean,
but you know, there's.
You mean you're not just about art? You're one facet in life.
No, multi-facets, but you know, it's nice to like, because I mean, I'm sure you know too, more than anyone, like the budget for the art department is not always as lucrative as some of the other ones.
And also let's just acknowledge the fact that in the last few years, like, expenses on materials have gone up.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So it's like
we've seen it here.
I would imagine. So you just because a project cost this much with this many kids last year doesn't mean it's going to be the same next year. So when you have to like go to administration and you're like, hey, like we actually need to bump up the budget, and they're like, we can't, or like, or they split your class. Like, so like recently they just split like our Art 1 class, instead of a full year, it's a half year course. So like technically we can see more kids throughout the year.
Sure.
So it's a shorter time, but you get to see more kids. All right, well, if you're going to do like your one show-stopping like project, well, now we need to get more of that material for that project. More it's like we love doing like the linoleum print project.
Oh, linoleum.
But you know what costs probably the most money in that out of all the projects? It's probably the linoleum itself. So like now it's like, hey, you gave us more kids, thank you.
Yeah.
We need more material.
We need more money, more stuff.
Let's just be clear. Like, out of the people that I want to thank, it's like the other art teachers, because they're such like an awesome group to work with. Erin Carney and Natalie Fitzgerald, and like we always just bounce ideas off each other. It's such a cool collaborative environment. Like some people would like walk into our atmosphere and they'd be like, you have a split double. Like you have one class on this side, you have another class, and it's split down the middle by like a row of sinks with a very thin wall. So like you can hear everything going on the other side. Trust me, when my AP kids are like, it's karaoke Friday. Yeah, Erin on the other side is rolling her eyes like, dear God, please don't let them sing. I'm like, and it's so fun to do. But yeah, like I think I lost my thread on this.
No, I understand. Like you said, the cost of materials.
Yeah.
Changed. We noticed it greatly just probably, I think, in the last 6 months, where I had a couple of orders where the mat board cost more than the frame.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even like it was a silk mat. It was just a 8-ply mat, but the mat ended up being, because of the size, cost more than the frame did.
Yeah, I mean, that's always, it's like I've had instances where I've made a piece for a buddy or like a friend of a friend, and like they think that I'm charging like a ludicrous amount, but they're like, oh man, you know, like, and then like later on they text me and they're like, framing it costs more than the piece. I was like, yeah, man, like work goes into this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that you're biting the bullet and finally buying a personal piece of art.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a bespoke piece for yourself, like it's gonna cost some money too.
A lot of artists have that. They have to keep that in budgetary in mind, especially when they're placing something in a show that takes a commission and things like that. They have to budget the commission, the cost of the framing, and all the other stuff, not to mention all the hours they poured into the artwork, into the piece. And like they do all the calculations, and it's like, oh, I guess I'm going to break even or owe money on this one, And it's like, well, I really loved it at least, But I mean, that can only go so far.
I mean, like you have places again, like going back to the James Library, you have them, like they're a very artist-friendly gallery, so like you're expected to still donate money back to them, but it's like the idea of like you can write that off in your taxes kind of deal too. So like they have a good system that way, but it's still like money's coming off the top of your price. Yeah. So like, is that affecting how you price your artwork?
Yeah.
So it's all interesting. I mean, the business side of art is something, luckily, that like I don't have to discuss too much with my students because I don't know. Sometimes I feel icky myself about like how much am I charging for this? Like, what's the upcharge? Like, man, it would be great if like for like all the dog portrait commissions, I could say, oh, your dog is brindle colored. It's all these spots. I'm not drawing it unless you give me an extra $100 for, like, oh, it's a pug with all these folds. I don't wanna.
What are you saying about pugs? What's wrong with pugs?
Nothing's wrong with pugs. They just have a lot of intricate folds.
Mine's black though, so he doesn't photograph very easily. But yeah, it makes a difference. Like you said, having something with a pattern versus something that's a solid is always.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love doing all the pet portraits. I was talking to Dave.
You found your niche.
I don't want to say it's my niche though. Like I was telling you earlier, it's just the idea of like, oh man, like it feels not good when I'm introduced as like a pet portrait artist. Like I want to be known as just like a portrait artist or known as just an art guy. Like I don't. Sure. Like, it's also been like weird. I'm not sure when you guys kind of rolled around comfortable to the fact of calling yourself an artist. Like those titles is always really hard to like kind of like take in and not feel like a fraud.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it was like really only in the last like probably like 10, 15 years, like I'm an art teacher at this point, you should feel like you're an artist, but at the same time you're like, is this the thing I love or is this something I do? Is this how you define yourself and all that jazz? So,
well, I'm a framer first and an artist second. I know it just because I deal with it more often.
Yeah.
But I enjoy my art just as much as I enjoy doing the framing part. Like I said, the framing I think is like the last, it's the finishing touch. It's the bow tie. It's the top hat. It's the thing that goes on to finish the look. But it is.
It can also be the art, though, too.
It can, exactly. It has to complement. It can't overtake the art. It has to be something that complements it. It can't be the thing you look at first, or you're doing it wrong.
And that's why you guys are known for your lime green frame.
Oh yes. It's highly sought after, especially with green screen work being so prevalent nowadays. It is tough. Finding like something like for the piece you have here, your resin piece.
Yeah.
Trying to find something to put around that to display it is nearly impossible because of the way it looks.
Yeah.
Anything closing over it completely makes it feel not open and free flowing anymore. So you have to use something like a floater.
Yeah.
But with a piece of resin, the only way to put that in there is you have to glue it in place. You can't drill into it because then you're drilling into the artwork.
Unless the person was savvy enough to put some of those fixtures into the drying process. Yeah.
Again, the ahead of time thing.
I wasn't. I this was like a complete like again, like I was just experimenting on top of a piece that like the person didn't come through on the commission. So I was like, what do I do with this cat that I don't care about? Let's go for it and try it. I've never done a resin piece. I've seen enough like TikTok reels of these things being done. I was like, let's try it out. Now I've tried it out. I had to go and get the tech ed teacher to saw it down for me. I was like, hey, I have a problem. It's now your problem. Please help. You know, like, so like he learned from it. Like,
bandsaws and fine grit saw. Fine grit sandpaper.
Did you introduce it to the students to it, or did they?
I think it worked really well to show my AP kids know that I was experimenting with something.
Yeah.
They know that several of my students are already doing something with the leftover resin gallons I have, and I've already bought another few, just because it's not much of a cost. I want to use my own art, so like
It's become more readily available now, which is nice.
yeah,
It used to
yeah.
be something you have to order online because it's a chemical part AB mix, but
Exactly.
now it's a little easier.
So
to
like I
get.
have a few kids that are trying stuff out with it, which is kind of fun at a smaller scale, and I love showing it because like we just got done with the painting unit with my Art 2 kids, and just the idea of like I feel like painting is just like think about your layering. It's
Yes.
all about
Yep.
layering. It's like what do you do first? What's your order of operations? And this was
I
just
haven't heard that in forever. Order of operations.
yeah,
man.
we're doing
Flashback.
we're doing a geometry proof.
Yeah,
Let's go.
exactly.
No, this is like, but this one was just kind of fun to show. Like, no, like literally in any type of art, you have to think like, what do you do first? What's the next
yeah.
step? And like, have you planned? What's your process? So I don't know. Like, I think that sometimes. I don't think the kids think I'm showing off when I show the pieces that I've been making. I think they know that inherently I'm just like trying to show them that like I love making. Like that's why I'm in this like job. Like I get to hang out with like awesome kids, get to see them make
At the
awesome
beginning of their
pieces.
creativity, when they're
Yeah,
still,
like,
like, you know.
try to foster this love of making that I know I have, and hey, like I have to plan through these things too. Like or like it's not a big deal if I fail. I don't have a test at the end of the year. Like. Like it's fine, but I'm making like 30 pieces, like more than you kids are, you know. And I know I have the time, but I'm also a dad of a toddler. Do I really have the time? Like, I don't have homework when I go home.
Yeah.
But I have other stuff. I have literal homework.
Yes, work at home. Yeah,
it's different.
It really is. But like you said, there are ways and things you have to do, and especially like the worst thing would be to mix that resin wrong. After having the most perfect piece, and you did a 2-to-3 ratio instead of a 1-to-1 ratio or something, and you end up with gel on top of your piece, and it's ruined.
It's tacky. Do
it's
I fix
still
this?
tacky
You can't.
3 weeks from now, and there's nothing you can do to work with it. But only because I've worked with it, I know how much of a pain it can be. But the payoff is so great. You know, it's like working with like painting through glass. It
feels like magic. At a certain level,
and you can even do things like black and white across the whole board, and then tint the resin and get an awesome piece that way.
I'm definitely looking forward to using it more. Again, trying to like maybe. Again, like I don't want to be known as a pet portrait artist. Do I want to be known as someone who's just doing trendy type of materials? It's like, well, it's trendy because it's cool. Like, and that's fine.
I used to sell watercolor landscapes for a living. For like when I was first starting off with my stuff. That's what I had. I had cards made up. I was, people would send me pictures of their houses. I'd paint them and send them out. But I hated doing it. I hated it. It's like, okay, it's like I have no creativity. It's like, all right, you want your house to look exactly like your house, and if I do anything different, it's going to be, off. And they're like, oh, add the dog, add the thing. I'm like, all right, well, I'll add these in. And they're like, oh, I hate that. Can you take it? I'm like, no, I got to start all over again. Now I do fluid acrylic. And like stuff with resin, and it's so much more freeing to me than that stuff that I got tied into before.
That's what I kind of want to make sure I'm still doing is like, okay, I'm doing all these pet portraits. I'm doing other portraiture I have another portrait that I'm working on that I think would be fun to talk about in a second. But it's like I saw one of my former students, like she has an Instagram account, Devin Bailey, super awesome student. Not a student anymore, an adult now, like married, making awesome artwork. I'm old apparently, but
You said 15 years?
yeah. So
When did Paul retire?
Paul retired. When did Natalie joined the crew? Probably like 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. He was subbing today.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was like, oh man, I got to get on that podcast.
Yeah, he was
he's like they
you should have brought him with you.
They emailed me and I feel like the chance is come and gone. No, it hasn't. He can come. Yeah. But what was I talking about?
You were talking about. I'm sorry.
Devin Bailey. Yeah, her New Year's resolution was like, hey, like I'm not taking any commissions for the first half of the year. I want to make sure I'm making stuff for myself. And it's just like, oh man,
keep it alive.
Like heart that comment, like it's just so. I was like, like. It's so cliche. The student has become the teacher, Like it's just like, oh yeah, no, I want to do that too. So,
but you don't want to become stuck just doing the same thing every day because then it becomes work. And
I know,
fun. It's not the thing that you do to enjoy anymore.
Well, it's like, do you make stuff that is going to sell, or do you make stuff for yourself? And which would we've been talking about this like for every aspect of this conversation has been like a tightrope walk of like wanting to have your cake and eat it too kind of deal. And it's
that's what art is. Unfortunately, it's expressing yourself enough. But having someone else that wants to also buy it for you.
I mean, like, that's where I have I have my AP drawing students, but I also have my AP design students. They're like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, do you care about an audience? Because if you care about an audience, then like you're probably thinking about your composition. You're probably thinking about like selling your idea to someone. You're probably a design student. If you care about the journey, if you care about the layering of materials and like showing these art elements in new ways and like for yourself, you're probably a drawing student. You know, like there's so much crossover in there, but to try to like map out like where their interests are,
what's
and maybe
the
set them on
diverge?
the right.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's good to get these things from, like I said, we've had individual artists come in, but to have someone who has to teach as a living. You know, we have, again, some of these artists are teachers on the side too for independent stuff, but that's, again, for people that come in and doing it for the love of doing it, not because they want to go for the professional side of things.
Yeah.
So now
And
you're starting off with these kids who are going to hopefully go into the profession.
I mean, just because they're in the AP class doesn't mean that they want to go off to school for it either,
sure.
you know? And I feel like that's something nice that our program is kind of like encouraging the kids to like know that there's professions out there, know that they can make a living doing this, but
learning creativity is important too,
exactly.
right?
And like even just like go off in whatever jobs you go off into the future is still like to have a respect for the creatives that you might be working with, to have a respect for how much time they took, and to like know like, oh, the price that they're setting is fair and everything like that too. So I think it goes a long way, just like whatever they want to do in this world.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what they're getting from the class.
Well, I mean, you're teaching them to think a little bit different. You know, I mean, there's like a different type of thinking that you're teaching, right? Opposed to like teaching how to like add numbers or something like that. It's how to look at something and how to like interpret like a, you know, an assignment like the you know like they're working on all year, right?
Yeah, I think it's such a good way for them to kind of make the connections between some of the coursework that they enjoy too. It's like, oh, you enjoy these classes that are outside of the art classroom, but it's like this is the perfect way to blend those ideas together too. So it's like it's not a solitary class like maybe in a math class, you're focusing on that type of math, but when you leave, you might still have a passion for that type of math. But like, what do you do with it? Okay, can I bring this into the art class, and maybe I can utilize that that information in a new way, like you're saying too. Just like how do we again just keep on foster this love for making? But, yeah.
It really is. It really is difficult. I know.
So will the kids' work be for sale too, or is it all you got it?
So technically, because they're using school supplies, like you kind of fall into that like realm of like they shouldn't be selling it too. Whatever they do with these pieces, like after they graduate, I can't be like, gotcha, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You're selling this? No. So it won't be like, unlike most shows at the James Library, like the pieces won't be up for sale.
Yep.
So could you find their name and possibly contact them and say, I love your piece and everything like that? We've definitely had people reach out to us in the past, and we've kind of, instead of just setting up one of my high school students with a complete stranger, like I've kind of talked about that. You know, you don't want to put any kids in a weird position where it's like you don't have to sell it. Like there's that's nothing telling you have to. So it's again, walking that line
it's tough.
of trying to get the kids to know, hey, someone out there wants your work. That's awesome. But I can't have a sale of your artwork either.
I could see that being a difficult situation to try to explain to.
Luckily, it doesn't come up too often or anything like that. But
now, will they tie anything else in the use opening reception on Friday for the show or
we have the open reception. It's 4 to 6 on Friday.
Any performances, anything like that?
No, nothing like that. We for our performances like the Fine Arts Festival in March. Don't have a strict date on that yet. But if you're interested in like seeing those things, I'd say looking at the Norwell.art page on Instagram is awesome to kind of keep a focus on that. If you want to see my own artwork, it's at Nate _Nottingham. For some reason, I thought that was clever, and I was like, my students won't find me. They've all found my Instagram account. Like I don't know why switching 2 letters around would stop that, but. No, the Norwell.art page will always has like sort of the what's going on sort of thing. But in terms of like that show, which is like the entire gym, we've had in the past like the Norwell band like play and like really have like set the mood and everything like that. I think with the James this year, I think they are, they're still they're thankfully beyond like some of those COVID restrictions stuff now. So I always talk about like, are we going to be able to have like a cheese board or something like that? Like, no, let's talk about that. So like that's a throw up in the air sort of deal. But it's looking like we're looking forward to have a lot of people in the show and everything like that too. So
how many people will the James hold? Is it a fair amount? I mean, the
don't
parking
know,
is definitely not an issue right there, right? Like you can
as long as you can line up, line up the
just
street.
keep lining them up all the way down Main Street, right?
I honestly don't know. At what point would I start feeling claustrophobic in there? Probably around 35 people. But I'm a person who doesn't like crowds anyways.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you doing on New Year's? Absolutely nothing. I'll be in my bed. So
perhaps watching the ball drop if I catch it in time.
Exactly.
When my movie's over, that I'm watching, eating my Chinese food. Will the students be in attendance too for that?
So like, I don't like to be the person who's like your grade is dependent
You must be
on
there.
this. There's always extenuating circumstances. So the goal of having it from 4 to 6 is like ideally you could probably pop in right after school. You can go over there, maybe have a bite to eat, blah, blah, blah.
There, yeah.
And then I was like, this is like something funny. Like I was like trying to tell the kids, like, if you can't make it, try to send someone as tribute. Like try to, a parent should show up, a cousin, a friend, someone should come. So I'm just like a lonely man in the basement of a library. Like,
Hold a Hunger
again,
Games
a
if you'd
beautiful
like,
basement of a library, but nonetheless, me being by myself with a cheese board, I'm going to eat that cheese board. So.
Well, then don't come, people. Just have a full meal. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, no, I mean, it'd be neat to see them in a group setting, having everybody come in. Because I know when we have the art show here that we do, and having all the kids come, it's always a cool thing to see them in a group setting with like all their parents and the grandparents and the family and the aunt and uncle. And it's just cool for them to be able to have, like I said, to see their stuff up on display. So I didn't know if it was
I'm never gonna get tired of seeing the mom force their child in front of their picture with the picture. It is the most adorable thing on the planet. Yeah. And I look forward to forcing my own son in doing it in years down the line. Like I'm like, this is a bad photo. Like it's gonna be a bad photo, but it's a worthwhile photo in the long. Like it has such sentimental value, and the kid's just like, I don't want to. Like take the photo, smile for your mom. This is important to her. And no, you're right. And just like the conversations they have, and like I have 2 separate so in my 7-period schedule, I have 2 AP classes meet. Okay, like it's a blend of drawing and design students and a blend of drawing and design students, but those kids rarely see what the other class is making. We have awesome critiques in those classes, and I try to put up as much of the appropriate work as possible in the galleries that, do I want to put an unfinished piece up in the gallery? No, not yet. So like some of those kids, like you don't get those up in the gallery. So a lot of the classes don't know what the other classes are up to. So this is like one of those times where it's like a great blend. If you're at the show, or if you at least make your way over to the James by March 11th, you're going to be able to see like all this awesome work and kind of read what those other kids are up to and how they're handling the same test.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
cool. Well, Scott will get everything up there to so anyone can find the links and check out the show.
Yeah, if you've got anything you ever want to send us in the future, just send it right over to us. I can put it up on our event calendar page.
Awesome, cool. I think definitely for the Fine Arts Festival in March, I'll send something to you guys, and then just once we get that new batch of traveling art show pieces, we'll get some photos up for those.
It'll be awesome to see.
And again, some of the locations, some of those pieces right now are at the South Shore Health Center right now. And it's always funny, a kid will come and be like, my mom's friend said that my piece was hanging. And it's like, yep, it said the traveling art. Remember you gave me that piece of artwork to hold on to. We got it nicely framed, and then you were sad that we were going to keep it for a while. You're getting it back your senior year, all that jazz. So it's again, thank you to you guys. Thanks to Bill Hauser and the James Library and the Cultural Council for supporting everybody. The kids definitely feel the support. I feel the support. Norwell's a great town. Hanover, again, the South Shore is just a great place to work. This is, I think I overshot it by saying 15. It's technically 14 years, but it hasn't felt like 14 years at all. It's like crazy that so much time has passed.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. Like I
remember the first time I walked down into the doors. Like Pap sent me here. He was like, go get a scrap backboard from Dave. He's a nice guy, and I'm like, hi, I'm one of the art teachers from the high school. Yeah. Can I have some free mapboard?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they run out back.
Cut myself on the
armloads worth of stuff. Yeah, exactly. So
funny. Well, when
But you remember.
Maybe when we get Paul in here, maybe we'll get him to bring you along or make you escort him down here. Awesome. Well, I know you got you got a young one to pick up.
Got the daycare run right now. So thanks for fitting me in and accommodating my schedule. I know you guys usually do this a little bit later in the day.
Oh,
so
no. Whenever people are available, we're happy to be able to do this kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's always fun. It's a fun conversation. And if we didn't have the heart out, we could probably go for a little bit longer. But
I can talk.
Yeah.
We'll just have him come back after the show and let us know how good it all went. That's we can do a part 2.
Things went turn.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening today, and we will catch you next time.
All right. See ya.